What was dubbed as a major foreign policy speech today when President Barack Obama spoke to the graduating class at West Point Military Academy was greeted with but a smattering of applause. Analysts and pundits were left scratching their heads, trying to figure out the impact, if any, of the president's remarks. Listening to the speech, I came away agreeing with Polish Nobel laureate and former Poland President Lech Walesa that the U.S. is no longer the leader of the world, but under the watch of Obama abdicated the U.S. role. Even as Russian President Vladimir Putin said last week at an economic summit in Moscow, the U.S. that once was to be considered and feared is no more. As usual, the president delivered an excellent speech and filled with sound bites. But what the president did not do was reassure our allies around the world that the U.S. would stand with them and behind them. He gave merely lip service to America's responsibility in the world and the idea that it was the U.S. that other countries turn to for help in times of need. Most likely our enemies loved the speech and took heart that America would not act when push comes to shove. Perhaps this explains why Putin is continuing his push in Ukraine and eyeing other former Soviet republics. Perhaps this explains why Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad has only complied in the barest of means to the dismantling of chemical weapons. While the president sounded strong, the teeth, the backbone, the resolve seem to be missing when it comes to dealing with crises wherever they occur around the globe. The polite but barely audible positive response from the cadets who will be deployed as officers commanding our troops was thundering in its subdued tone. To me, from the reaction, there appeared little that the soon-to-be officers found inspiring from the commander-in-chief. The only real applause came when the president noted that the graduating class would be the first in 10+ years to not be sent right away into a war zone. Sorry, Mr. President, I must disagree that your administration has been the most effective in foreign policy of any administration. Our status in the world has diminished under your watch. Our friends are unsure if we will be there or not. Our enemies see nothing to give them pause in doing what they want. And no, I am not a partisan, but an independent. You say, Mr. President, the U.S. must lead. But looking back objectively over the years you have been in command, the U.S. has not always done what you say we must do. The U.S. did not take the lead and still is waffling in some parts where action and leadership is called for. Example, Syria. That country, torn apart by a civil war, looked to the U.S. and has become instead a breeding and training ground for al-Qaeda. Now you want to find, equip, and train opposition fighters who are not tied with extremists, jihadists, and al-Qaeda. That time passed 2 years ago. From the cornfield, I am left with an empty feeling and a sense that our nation may be in the last seconds of our 15 minutes of fame on the world stage, if the president's idea of global leadership continues.